SwitchBot's mission is to create a world where robots seamlessly handle physical tasks. And from my experience, they manage these physical tasks quite well. But today we're looking at SwitchBot's Universal Remote Control. It's very much a physical device, but the operations it performs are virtual. Infrared commands, Bluetooth connections, Matter integrations. SwitchBot brands this the one remote to rule them all, and their sales team says it's definitely a harmony killer. This remote can barely rule its own ecosystem. On 4 occasions I had it on life support from Harmony. Its Matter integration is so bad I had to cover it in another video, and I'd rather kick dirt at SwitchBot for their lofty vows than put my Harmony in the ground. Welcome back to ManicMods, YouTube's newest home of product reviews, modifications, and mayhem. Today I'll share my testing and thoughts on SwitchBot's Universal Remote Control hardware and ecosystem. You can expect tips, tricks, recommendations, and a little ruckus. If you have not guessed already, this review is not sponsored by SwitchBot. With over 40 hours in testing, all I ask for is a thumbs up if you like it. This helps position my video next to the positive reviews that are marked paid promotion. Let's get it. This SwitchBot Universal Remote Kit was purchased during a promotion last year for $70. In the last week, I have observed this price increase to $100, which helped me prioritize this review for you. Unfortunately, SwitchBot does not sell this remote without bundling it with their hub. There are use cases for a single remote, which I'll explain later, and you can find used stock on eBay. This is not a full unboxing, I'll defer the hub for later. Included with the remote, you'll find a USB charging cable as well as instructions and a familiar reset tool. I recommend you keep the stock screen protector on, peeling only that red tab off. This screen is not a touchscreen, but it is easily scratched with light pressure, which is why I recommend a screen protector. Shout out to our guy Jerry Rigs Everything for the inspiration here. This remote is comfortable to hold. I like the feeling of the controls and the buttons, but I wish there were more of them. I also wish the touch wheel operated devices and not just the remote menus itself. But most importantly, I find it too slippery compared to the Harmony remote. To keep it from flying out of my hands, I installed Dragon Grip adhesive strips. These did help, and I will link the product in my description. SwitchBot claims a 25-hour battery life, and with the help of their bot in my smart home, I was able to confirm this is well within reason. Over 1,700 taps were applied to the mute button to keep the screen awake for over 24 hours straight. Something did catch my eye in this time lapse, and it wasn't my cat. At about 500 taps, the SwitchBot had amnesia and forgot the button mapping. But all in all, I do appreciate the form and feel of this remote, which kind of is a shame because it's arguably useless. In this section, I'll detail 2 foundational failures on this remote before moving on to configuring it in 2 environments. This is a universal remote control, and it's only fitting that we build a foundation in home theater. This should have been easy since Logitech had paved the way for 2 decades. The Logitech Harmony gave us activities. An activity is what starts and stops our gear, as well as automate input switching. And when we start an activity, all of the buttons, including touchscreen, could be customized with any relevant device commands. And these activities can also be powered off. SwitchBot ignored all of this somehow. In terms of starting and stopping activities, it's no more useful than this generic RCA remote control. That's because SwitchBot's version of Logitech's activities are scenes, and they are a downgrade. For one, you will not be able to add an action for any Bluetooth devices such as my Chromecast or FireTV. Those devices just aren't there. But more importantly, these scenes were designed without on and off considerations. So to start and stop your required gear, you will need 2 scenes per activity. There are 4 activities I use that require device-level power management, which adds 8 buttons to the bottom of my list. Here, it'd be nice to double tap this red button for them because otherwise we cannot trigger them from the remote. The final nail in the coffin, even after you import that scene into the remote, it executes from the hub. So you don't have to take my word for it. I'm using a camera without an IR filter here while I execute the scene from the remote, and this feels like an unnecessary limitation, especially when Harmony has been doing this for 10 years. In Harmony, you can issue the command from the hub, remote, or any of the IR transmitters, any combination of them. I'm sorry I keep comparing this to a 10-year-old remote. It's sad. SwitchBot started it. That's real sad. The lack of proper infrared automation may not be an issue if you only use a smart TV, but that would suggest you're in it for the automation, so please stay tuned in that section. Some of you may also use CEC, which on compatible home theater devices can automate your power, volume, and input switching. I've historically disabled this since it's unreliable at best when compared to Harmony, but since our SwitchBot remote fails to conveniently automate, I've re-enabled CEC to help me along. I will never understand how SwitchBot, a home automation company, fails to see the value in activities. And it gets worse. Since SwitchBot cannot conveniently send a series of commands to ready our gear, it would be nice to put multiple device commands on a single page, but each device is bound to its page. So if I want to work around their lack of automation, I have to work around their device organization by adding a command for one device to another's page. It's a clunky process, but it works to help bridge this gap like I did with this command. And hey SwitchBot, if you're going to make me do this, at least give me some custom icons for these commands. I'm just kind of running in circles here. Alright, it was important I started with the foundation. It's busted. Let's move on to my experience adding and controlling two different zones. I mentioned there are use cases for an additional remote, and my bedroom zone is a good example. This simple zone uses an Element Smart TV and a Yamaha Soundbar. I already use CEC to synchronize power and require no input switching. In a zone like this, the SwitchBot could thrive, especially if you have their blinds that you would like to control. Still, the experience is scarred by those foundational failures. Those blinds can only be controlled from their device page with no workarounds like IR devices. Is this review getting dark or what? I think it's time for a compliment sandwich. That's when I start with something good, I tell you where you need improvement, and then I end with a compliment. Alright, something good, something good, something good. Oh, you can control my TV over infrared or Bluetooth.
Where you need improvement.
You can't turn on my TV with Bluetooth. So as Stewie Griffin might say, you have smelly dog farts. I don't have anything else nice to say, so this is more like an open-faced dog fart compliment sandwich, and I think it's pretty fitting. Despite this TV already controlling my soundbar over CEC, I wanted more control, including its subwoofer and soundstage. The procedure to add a device is not intuitive. We're not adding a receiver to a remote, we're adding speakers to the hub. My exact model soundbar was found, however, it did not include any mappings for advanced features. I had to map the features I wanted most to the hub's device page. Here's the hub's virtual remote for my Yamaha. I mapped the subwoofer volume to these up and down buttons. Then I navigated back to my bedroom remote to sync the commands to the physical remote. I want these mapped to my Yamaha's channel buttons, but the buttons I mapped in the hub's Yamaha device are not present. I ultimately had to backtrack and use the rewind and fast forward to bridge this command to the channel buttons. In this simple zone, SwitchBot's remote was beat by my Smart TV remote. It's faster and more reliable executing commands in addition to SwitchBot's own devices. This is my living room zone, which is a bit more complicated. This zone uses a Google Chromecast plugged into my Denon receiver on top there. This Denon has two outputs, one to my LG OLED and the other to this HDMI splitter. This splitter downscales any 4K 120Hz signal for the Hue Sync box to enable light syncing while gaming. That Hue Sync box is right below my Nintendo in another enclosure. You don't believe me, but I'll bet you a like button. Thank you for that. As shown, I have re-enabled CEC in this zone since the SwitchBot remote cannot conveniently automate. Given my experience with my bedroom zone, I tried to level my expectations here. I'll keep this simple and go device by device. At the heart of my home theater is my Denon receiver. This was added successfully, but despite being a common amplifier, this device is missing a power on and off button in favor of a single toggle. Additionally, it contains no input buttons or any advanced features, and I had to add these buttons to the bottom of the remote to reach minimal viable product. This is a company that's supposed to make our lives easier, but they have tasked thousands of customers to program a remote like this. It can only get better, right? Wrong. My Xbox was found in DVD player. You'll find a few options there for some reason. Series X came the closest, but did not power on and off the console. SwitchBot's remote learned this command from Harmony. That's right, the so-called Harmony killer is on life support from Logitech. Next, I added my new Dimplex Fireplace. This had to be manually added despite available in Harmony. It worked. I also implemented my workaround here and manually added its power button to my Chromecast activity. This is to toggle it more conveniently. I do have a Nintendo Switch, but I like to reserve that for fun, so our last two devices here is my OLED TV and my Chromecast. I tried two methods to control my Chromecast, infrared via CEC connection as well as directly over Bluetooth via third-party control. Unlike my bedroom setup, I am able to power on the device using Bluetooth. In this configuration, I mapped my volume buttons directly to my receiver for better results, but you could also add your TV as an IR device and use CEC. That control method is notably slower, but if you already have your TV working this way, it could be a win. I did just say win, but don't get too excited. I could still do this all better with my Chromecast remote. It's not uncommon my TV misses the CEC command to power off. Here the Chromecast remote can lend a hand by allowing you to map your TV's power, volume, and input button. To afford me the same luxury with SwitchBot, I added my TV as a device in addition to the power command on my smart TV page for that quick fix. And here is an example of some harmony you can bring to the SwitchBot remote. My first page is the corrections needed when CEC fails. The second is for my receiver's sound modes. The third is just for my fireplace, and the fourth is for my Hue Sync. Why are device commands bound to a page in a universal remote control? If you could bring multiple devices onto one page, wouldn't you be more interested? Well, buckle up, beautiful, because we're talking automation next. Before we dive face first into home automation, I do want to reiterate that there's a huge missed opportunity with infrared automation. In this section, I'll illustrate the same shortcomings also apply to devices in your smart home. As a baseline, Harmony has been kicking off my movie time activity for 5 years. This activity sends 25 commands to over 50 devices in my smart home, reaching my home theater, do-it-yourself blinds, home, and bias lighting. Here, Harmony's automation reigns supreme since we can create within Logitech's app or smart home. Please don't make fun of how slow my TV is. I'm really sensitive about that. Just like infrared commands, we can add smart home commands to our scenes, but they are subject to the same limitations, and additional ones are also obvious. We have no devices outside of SwitchBot's ecosystem to automate around. Okay, if you use HomeKit, you have those 4 buttons to automate around, so this could be conceived as an unfair statement, but no less fair than when a home automation company creates a universal remote that promises Matter integration in Alexa, Google, and SmartThings when it only works with Apple HomeKit. One walled garden to another, right? Please see my whole video. It includes the full Matter rant. I think it's up there, but it might be up there. There you go. Where was I? Oh, I need to automate devices and I can't because the default method is to share those 4 buttons from your smart home to Matter. 4 buttons for automating. I've seen creators spin around their house like it's a miracle. And guess what? I plan to add 8 buttons using IR to Zigbee in the next month because, like this do-it-yourself Z-Wave bridge for my blind show, when an integration is subpar, we can always build our own. But I need your help. If you got anything out of this video, please hit that thumbs up button. I often feel like I'm on a failing mission here because I can't take a dollar from these companies to review their products. And that button helps position my video next to more favorable reviews. To survive, I need it. Your support is greatly appreciated. This remote is not a Harmony killer. It can barely manage its own commands, let alone other remotes. It lacks any sensible foundation in home theater, and I'm convinced they preferred this footing for the almighty dollar. If you'd like to share your own experience or tips, please do so below. I'll never pretend I know everything as a creator, and getting schooled is good once in a while. So hit that like button, and if you want to see more content like that do-it-yourself Zigbee bridge, there's a button for that too. I'll see you around.